各位早晨啊，唔好意思要大家等咗一陣啦嚇。咁我哋而家好快開始啦，關於我哋今日呢個 webinar。咁我哋首先介紹一下我哋今日嘅會主講嘅講者先啦。咁我哋今日咧其實好彩，我哋揾到嚟自澳洲 New South Wales Immigration Service 嘅一位代表，同我哋講尤其是關於Sydney 同埋 New South Wales 嘅情況。咁Sam，do you want to say hi to everybody? Oh, Sam, you are on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, very clear.
Great.
Very clear.
Thank you. So as has been introduced, my name is Zane. I am the Associate Director within the New South Wales Treasury, and I have a responsibility for looking after New South Wales migration programs. So the programs where we nominate applicants to come to New South Wales as a part of the Australian government's visa migration programs.
Thank you, Zane. 跟住我哋第二位嘅 speaker 咧就會係 Desmond。咁 Desmond 咧係我哋喺馬來西亞嘅註冊嘅移民顧問嚟嘅。Desmond, do you want to say hi?
Yeah， 香港嘅朋友大家好，我係 Desmond。
Thank you, Desmond。咁我哋好快會去到 Desmond 再 present 嗰一 part 㗎啦。咁我介紹我自己先，我係 Belinda， 我係代表 CCGi 嘅。咁係Desmond 公司喺香港嘅代表。咁將來咧有啲乜嘢嘅問題係關於澳洲嘅移民方面咧都可以聯絡我，咁我就會幫大家聯絡去相關嘅專業人士㗎啦。咁今日其實我哋嘅成個 rundown 有3個部分嘅。第一部分咧就會係 Desmond 嘅 presentation， 講翻成個大環境，尤其是有關於 COVID-19 之後咧，其實澳洲有好多嘅新嘅policy 係幫助中小企。咁如果大家係有興趣喺澳洲 set up 一個 business 或者做 investment 嘅 migration 嘅話咧，其實可以留意一下呢啲新嘅舉措嘅。咁阿 Desmond 就好，因為咧其實 Desmond 同阿 Sing 本身都係主要講英文為主嘅。咁但係我哋又想cater for 多啲唔同 language 人士嘅需要。咁所以 Desmond 呢一 part 嘅 presentation 咧，我哋就預先錄咗，跟住就加咗中文字幕。咁希望可以幫到大家嘅 understanding。而阿 Sing 嗰 part 咧就主要為英文為主。咁經過2個 presentation 之後咧，其實就會係直入我哋嘅 Q&A session 㗎啦。咁喺2位 present 嘅時候咧，大家可以隨時喺你哋喺呢一個畫面應會見到一個 chat room 嘅，可以喺個 chat room 入邊打低你哋嘅問題。咁完咗2個 presentation 咧，我哋就會逐一咁樣解答㗎啦。咁我哋而家咧，我哋就首先去咗 Desmond 嘅 presentation 先啦。
你要按 share 咗先。
唔好意思啊，大家等一陣啊。
Reminded to mute your audio and if you have any questions, please state it in the chat box and we'll have a Q&A session by the end of the event. Also, the agenda of today, we're going to talk about the economic response to the coronavirus by the Australian government, and also we'll talk a bit more about the business innovation and investment visa for migrants. Before we start, hi Desmond, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi Belinda, hi everyone, I'm Desmond. I'm a licensed immigration advisor for the last 16 years. one of the achievements is to be awarded as one of the world's top 50 migration CEO by the U Global in Los Angeles. Prior to this, I was trained as a chartered certified accountant with the Pricewaterhouse for 8 years. Also, I'm actively speaking in different conferences over the years. Thank you, Belinda.
Thank you. So you started the Global Migration Solution 16 years ago. Can you tell us more about the company and the milestones?
Sure. So basically, Global Migration Solutions Sdn Bhd is a consulting company, and we specialize in migration advisory. So over the years, one of our principles is to advocate the right migration practices with the trust, service, and commitment for our clients, importantly, for our partners, ourselves, as well as our brand. And we carry ourselves as a premier and reliable migration advisory firm. And we have helped more than 12,000 families from all over 16 countries to Australia over the years. The only reason why we are able to maintain such a high successful records is because of a stringent due diligence check before taking over a client. And one of the highlights for Global Migration Solution is being awarded as the World Top 50 Migration Agency, recognizing the good practices among the migration leader. And over the years, we specialize in 5 countries, which is Australia, New Zealand, Portugal, United States, as well as Malaysia. And here are our team members. So they consist of the other licensed migration advisor, James Allen Hall. In fact, James Allen Hall is so experienced that he is also a trainer for licensed migration advisor. So for anybody who needs to get a licensing to be a migration agent and get certified, James Allen Hall can do so. And he's my senior. Our associate director, Audrey. And also we have all other team members in processing.
Okay, so can you share with us how important it is to deal with a registered immigration advisor, and how do we check if an advisor is licensed?
Yes, indeed, it is very, very important to make sure the person is licensed immigration advisor, and always make sure you get the advice directly from them. This is to protect your interests, to make sure you are being advised correctly. Because as a licensed advisor, we need to get updated with all the latest changes in order to get our license renewed every year. And you can verify if someone is a licensed or registered with MARA or not through this MARA websites, which you see over here.
So you have been in the migration scene for 16 years. Where is the top migration destination and where most of your clients chose to go to?
Sure. Being in the migration scene for the last 16 years, I can clearly tell you Australia is the top choice among our clients, especially the high net worth individual. If you look at the charts here, you will be able to see for 4 years in a row, Australia beat all other countries, being the highest demanded migration destination. And on average, there were 12,000 high net worth migrants chosen Australia every year.
So what are the key factors and why Australia?
Yeah, well, obviously there are many factors, but here I'm sharing, I think the most important 6 reasons. Well, first of all, the education. Well, I guess education is always one of the push factor for many parents. Australian education system is very different. It is not just purely academic. It also makes you become street smarts. And Australia has been winning world most livable city years after years. There are many factors that contribute to that. It all depends on the political stability, economically stability, the crime rate, the healthcare system, and migrants find the housing is so reasonable as compared to many other cities in the world. Yeah. And Australia is also a country with diverse culture. 7 out of the 10 people that you see on the streets are migrants themselves. And as a new migrant, you adapt quickly to the new environment. And importantly, work-life balance. When I speak to most of my clients, whether they are married or they are single, they find after the move, the work-life balance has improved so much in Australia. So I guess these are the key reasons how Australia managed to remain as the key destination for most of the migrants.
All very convincing factors, Desmond. But as a parent, I want to make sure my kids are being raised in a very safe place. So can you share with us how the Australian government managed the current pandemic crisis?
Yes. So, well, this is a good, opportunity to look into the current situation now. In fact, I've been in touch with clients in Australia to find out how they are during these periods. So you as a migrant, my advice to you, if you are considering Australia, you want to be sure your family is moving to a country with competent governments. And importantly, a country with empathetic government who understand the people and take good care of them. And certainly Australian government is competent in handling such a huge pandemic. And if you look at the number, as of 20th of May, there were 7,079 confirmed cases, of which 6,444 were recovered. A majority of the infections were between 20th of March to 10th of April. And since then, the infection is under the good control. So the Australian government is very foresighted. They respond so quickly to improve the travel bans, because they know when they stop the travel, when they impose the travel bans, and the viruses, it stops the chances of viruses being spreading into the country. So this is the first steps that the government has taken so quickly as compared to many other countries in the world.
So I agree that the Australian government has done a very good job and have the situation well handled. Can you share with us how the government support the residents and also the migrants during this period?
Sure, I'm very happy to share that. Well, other than curbing the virus, the Australian government acknowledged at times of the crisis like this, the governments must step up the efforts to support the residents, which includes the migrants. There are so many support packages available to the people at all levels, which cover the business owner. First of all, if you are a business owner, the government came out with cash flow assistance to help small, medium enterprise owner. These include those turnover of below 50 million. If your company qualifies for this assistance, you will receive a credit between 20,000 to 100,000, and you can use towards the payment of your quarterly taxes. As a business migrant myself, I must admit that this effort from the Australian government is such a great help during a challenging time like this. And next, if you employ any apprentice or trainee, the government will subsidize 50% of their salary over the next 9 months. And also, to stimulate the economy, the government also encouraged the business to expand further during these periods. If you incurred capital expenditure, for example, buying machinery and buying, equipments, your capital expenditure can be written off up to 150,000 within the same financial year. And how does that help you? The instant write-off simply means to help you to reduce your business profit and pay lesser tax. And in other words, that improves your cash flow. Also, if you are a salaried employee, there is a support for you as well. You will be entitled to the JobKeeper payments. And this is one of the biggest support packages available in Aegis. So your employer will receive 1,500 fortnightly on your behalf and use towards paying your salary. This is to ensure your job security and to improve the cash flow of the business owner. And in total, there is 130 billion going to be used up over the next 6 months. Yeah. And also, next, if you are a single mom, you're a widow, or you are a student, you might be entitled to claim 550 fortnightly over the next 6 months. So the government takes care of people at all levels, you can see. So the support also goes to the pensioner and concession card holders. The first payment of 750 was paid, and the second payment will take place in July 2020. Yeah. So besides, if you need more access to cash flow, you could also choose to withdraw from your superannuation of up to 10,000 by this July and another 10,000 after July. So if you are a temporary residence visa holder, and you might be wondering what could be the support packages or assistance available for you, yeah, just to take notes that if you are, for example, if you are a student, you are on working holiday visa holder, or some of the skilled migrants who is on the transitions to become a PR, I'm here to assure you that you are not being left out. The government has funded the Red Cross to provide foods, medicines, shelter over the next 6 months to them. So the government has also set aside 2.4 billion to protect the community. This goes to the permanent residents, citizens, as well as a temporary residence visa holder. And there are so much more support packages available on top of what I have highlighted. If you think that you are available to any of those, please do contact the respective authority to find out the detail and obtain the assistance available for you during these periods of times.
So now let's look into how can someone obtain a residency in Australia for the family and what are the pathways?
Sure. Well, there are 4 main pillars on the migration programs. Yeah. First of all, there is to build the economy, which is through the business and investment migration programs. Then to shape the skill that is needed by the Australia, there is a general skill programs. Also, if an Australian employer is offering a job to a foreigner, there is an employer-sponsored category. Last, Australia encourage family members to reunite with the rest of the members who are already in Australia. And that's the family stream. Today, we are going to focus on the business and investment migration program.
So can you share more about the business and investment programs with us?
Sure. Now, under the business and investment programs, there are 2 pathways. The first category will start you off as a provisional visa holder, and sometimes you heard it as a temporary residence visa holder. And the second pathway is going to give you an immediate permanent residency visa. And we have 188A. 188A is a program that require you to start a business in Australia after the visa is granted. Yeah, and I would like to highlight here again, after the visa is granted, because I came across many Hong Kong community asking me if they would need to start a business even before start applying for this visa. The answer is no. And you also have 188B. If you have no intention to run a business, you could actually do so by investing into the government bond for 1.5 million. You also have 188C. 188C is the programs that require to invest bigger sum, 5 million, and we'll share about why is it that you are required to invest more than 1.5 million. And one of the popular category, which is also the 132A programs, that is under the business migration, which is a bigger brother of the 188A, which require to set up a business in Australia after you have obtained your permanent residency in Australia. And I would like to do a little bit more detailed comparison between the two business programs of 188A and 132A. So if you think that you might be interested to apply either one of these programs, and this is the requirements that you must already fulfill before applying. First of all, these two programs only applicable to a business owner if you may have already started running at least 2 years of the business. And when you are running the business, you and your wife must have a share of at least 30% in the company. And on top of that, your company must have a turnover of 500,000 for 188A and 3 million Aussie dollar minimum for 132A. Yeah. And in terms of the financial capacity, under 188A would require to have 800,000 Aussie dollar and 1.5 million Aussie dollar for 132A. And under these two programs, the investment amount for 188A is ranging between 200,000 to 500,000 depending on which part of Australia you are going to, and between 1 million to 2.5 million depending on which part of Australia you are going to under 132A. Yeah. And in terms of the residency, I know that some of you may not ready yet to spend full time in Australia. Under 188A, you are not required to spend every single day in Australia. All you need to do is just to spend 1 year out of the 2 years. As for 132A, it is slightly more flexible. There's no minimum residency required. However, under 132A, you need to make sure that you spend enough for you to fulfill the 2 years monitoring in later after the visa is granted. And when we talk about the basis of being reasonable and the reasonable amount of times to spend in Australia, if you spend very little amount of time, you need to be able to demonstrate to the government that your business in Australia is still being, monitored and managed by you from your own country. So this is the quick summary about the business and investment business pathway. And let me now take you over to the investment pathway. So under this investment pathway, this is a lot more straightforward because you are not required to run a business or maintain a business in Australia. Likewise, you are not required to be a business owner to apply for this visa. If you are an investor, you have sufficient amount of the money and you can demonstrate that you acquire your fund and your assets legally. And under 188B, you need to have 2.25 million Aussie dollar. As for 188C, it is 5 million, of which you are required to invest 1.5 million under 188B into the government bonds and 5 million under 188C into the complying investment. Yeah, the returns between the two are ranges between 1%, which is into the government bond because it is secured by the government. So you basically get your money back 4 years after. Yeah. As for 188C, the compliant investment comes with the risk and it performs according to the market performance. So most of the clients who want to be safe invest into the investment portfolio that gives a very low risk and the returns is ranging between 4% to 12%. Now, it makes a difference in terms of the residency between the 188B and 188C. Under 188B, you are required to spend 2 years out of the 4 years, or over the periods of 4 years. And 188C, there's very minimum residency required, which is only 40 days in a year. Yeah. So when it comes to this 188B, the residency can be done either the husband or the wife, regardless of who is the principal applicants. Yeah. So this is a good summary of the comparison between the investment pathway. Thank you.
So how can we help a client, and what are the process involved?
Sure. Well, I would say there are 4 important aspects of the application. The first aspect is to make sure if our clients is eligible and whether we can take them on as a clients. And this is very important. Yeah. And I'm sure Belinda agreed to that as well. And this is also what we are trying to apply. So we do one-to-one assessment with the clients. And if they meet the requirements and their documents meet all the requirements, we would then take them on, and then we are going to start with the second process called states nomination, where clients is now deciding where they are going to stay in Australia. We are going to submit the nomination application and get an approval for the clients. And this needs to be accepted by the respective government. So here today we have our special guest from the New South Wales State Government, and they will be talking about how do they approve the nomination. Yeah, if you are seeking to apply to move to New South Wales, Sydney. And once the state government approves your nomination, we will take you on to the federal government. We'll do the full submission. Now, this is a lengthy process, and it takes about 2 years to complete the process before you get your visa approved. So if you look at the entire process, it takes you at least 2 years from today, from the day when you start the application until you and your family member are ready to move over. Yeah. And fourth step is also one of the strengths why client chose our company, because the settlement support, we don't just cover we don't just support you on the application, but we make sure that your settlement is being taken care. So we carry your hand through to make sure how you can successfully settle down in Australia. And I have a few pictures just to share with you on how we help our clients through. So this is one of the clients that we connect them to the Department of the State's developments. The clients who is looking at the oil and gas projects. So we connect them to the government. We get them to talk to the governments and get the support from the government. So we also have constantly arrange the clients to meet up with the respective states government to get the nomination through successfully. And importantly, we are very transparent. We want clients to hear what the government has to say about their commitment. So to make sure that clients landed in the right business, we often at times we walk the clients and we bring the clients to do some business visit. For example, this is the clients that visited the Pearl factory. We also often at times bring clients to see all sorts of businesses, and this is one of the example for winery. So this is one of the clients who has gotten a deal to export 600,000 worth of the mother pearl to Guangzhou. Yeah, and importantly, it is very important that you take care of your accounting, company set up properly, as well as you getting a proper advice on your taxes and the tax implication. So we also have accountants across Australia to support you, regardless of where you're going to. So some of the clients may be interested in the property developments or in some of the projects. So we often at times we organize meeting with our architect, with the builder for them to understand, the process, the drawing, the projects well. So site inspection. So we took clients for the site inspection. So this is another good example of the site inspection.
We'll go directly into our Q&A session. Quite some of you has already shot in some questions. So let me start with the first one. So actually, a few people asked about the 188A visa. So it seems to be the easiest way to go for, but will this take longer or shorter time because it's the lowest investment amount and the easiest way to go with? Desmond, do you want to take this question?
Sure. Well, the current processing time for 188A or 188B are pretty much the same at this point of time. It is between 20 to 22 months. Yeah. And if you meet the requirements of the 188A, we assure that you are being checked carefully, and before we submit your application. And if you were to refer back to the previous slide that I showed earlier, the stage 3 is where the processing time takes the longest. So it is not, the processing time is not going to be longer because you are investing lesser, or because the requirements for this 188A is easier. It doesn't work this way. Thank you.
Okay. And there is another question actually related to 188A as well. So is there any kind of business that would make it easier?
Generally, the business, generally, if it is a legal business, it is a business that you are operating actively and not passive investment. Most of the business is acceptable, but you will find out whether or not this business is acceptable, the concept of your business is acceptable during the stage 2. Because during the stage 2 of the state's nomination, when we put in the application to the respective state's government, we have to propose a preliminary idea of what you intended to do in Australia. Yeah, and to be safe, what we usually do is, if you have any changes of the business plan, we always get in touch with the state's government just to get an idea. If there's any doubts on whether the businesses is acceptable or not, we always seek an advice from the respective state's government to make sure that our clients are getting into the right business.
Okay, so there is a question that we run into quite a lot in Hong Kong. Is it actually an option to purchase a business, an existing business in Australia, to get to the PR route?
Okay, so would you like me to answer, or would you like Jane to answer?
Zane, do you want to take this question?
With regards to purchasing a business?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can certainly purchase a business, but it has to meet our requirements that you have to make that new investment into the business as well. So we're looking for, if it's in Sydney, the 132, you have to make a $1.5 million investment into that business, and you have to create 5 full-time new jobs in Sydney. So if there's already existing people there, it's not simply a matter of acquiring them. What we're really after here is your business talent skills to be able to create new business and to inject money into that business as well. So, I mean, some people, to give you an insight, think, well, I'll just fire 5 people and hire 5 people. No, that doesn't work like that. What we're really here, as I said, it's about your business talent. If we're going to nominate you, we want you to really show us your value, and that value comes through your ability to make that investment into the business, to take it to that next level, and to create jobs. Because the biggest part of why we all participate in these programs is that the ability to create jobs in our economy. It's very important. It's the one thing I think politicians everywhere in the world is a major focus, is to have people in jobs, and to say what they've done is able to get people into new jobs.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And
sorry, just to add on to what Jane had just explained,
Yep.
I guess one of the important point here that I would like to highlight is, in case if any one of you thinking that by you investing or buying over a business, and that would immediately qualify you to apply for 188A visa or the 132A visa. It doesn't work this way. And we always need to refer back to the basic requirements, the basic criteria of the 188A and 132A visa. Yeah, so in other words, you're not required to buy a business yet to apply for the visa. Yeah, you still have to meet the basic requirements, and buying a business can take place anytime after that. Yeah, and even, the program is so highly regulated to a certain extent that, you're not required to buy a business or start up your business until the visa is approved. Thank you.
I see. Very clear. Thank you, gentlemen. Another question is, how does the Australian Immigration Office define net assets?
Net assets.
Do you want to, Zane or Desmond, do you want to take this?
Well, that's because that's a federal requirement. I mean, Desmond can answer that.
Sure. Sure. So in general, the net asset here includes the business asset and the personal assets. Now, let's talk about the business assets. If you're referring to the business asset here, we always oftentimes refer to the balance sheet. So in other words, the net company value. Yeah. As for the personal asset, this includes the property. And the property, we're looking at the current value of your property. If there's any loan, then we take off the loan amount and then net off the loan amount, and that is the value that you can recognize towards the net assets. We can also include the fixed deposits, your savings accounts, and your other investments such as the share, unit trust, bonds. Yeah. What you are not allowed to be included in the net asset calculation is the motor vehicles. If you have expensive motor vehicles, that is not to be included. You are not allowed to be included also insurance. Yeah, if you have an insurance value worth certain amounts of money, those are not a liquid assets to be included. Yeah.
Okay, great. And another question is about the tax regulations. Any advice, insights you have if someone from Hong Kong wants to move to Australia? What do they have to take into account, considerations?
I can share very very brief concept about the tax implication, but I'm not the tax licensed tax advisor, and we will suggest people to always speak to the licensed person or the qualified person. Now, I guess what I would like to share over here is a lot of people might be confused over, what is the tax implication when the visa is being approved. So what they need to understand is when the visa is approved, it doesn't automatically put them to become a tax resident of Australia. Yeah. So in general, if you live in Australia after the visa approval for more than half of the time in Australia, then you are considered as a tax resident in Australia. Yeah. Other than that, like for example, currently I have now moved back from Australia to Malaysia, so that it is easier for me to travel in this region to meet with the clients. So I have not been living more than 6 months in a year in Australia, and being a permanent resident myself, I'm not considered as a tax resident. So any income that I have from Malaysia, which is outside Australia here, I'm not required to report or to declare in Australia. I only need to declare any incomes arrived in Australia is alone. Yeah.
Zane, do you have any add-on to that about taxation?
Zane is on mute. Yeah.
Sorry about that. No, sorry, I'm not able to comment on any tax matters.
No problem. We have another question. So other than the 1328, all the others are provisional visas. So how long does it take to get them to permanent visa?
Okay, so let's talk about the 188C, then I'll talk about B, then I'll talk about A. So when you get the 188 visa approved, for the first stage of the visa is a 4 years visa. So you're given 4 years periods. The 188B and 188C require you to maintain the investment for 4 years. So you can apply to become a PR after the 4 years periods. Yeah, after the 4 years. Whereas it is faster for 188A. For 188A, you're required to run the business for 2 years. So it could be first and second year, second or third year, or third and the fourth year, assuming someone who has not started the business at all until the 188 is approved, and they're using the first and second years to start running the business, so they can apply for the PR conversion as soon as on the third year. And it is unnecessary for them to wait until the end of the fourth year to apply. Yeah, so it is faster for 188A. Yeah.
Okay, we have one question about skilled visa, although today is more about investment. So we would just would answer this. Is there any preference, and what kind of skills are the most valued now in Australia? And is there an age limit to that?
Sure. Well, in general, if you reach 45 and you no longer qualify to apply under the general skill migration program, yeah, so there's an age limit of 45. Yeah, if you're talking about what skills are are good, or what are the good jobs, or demanded skill, there are so many skills available. But I would say, if you are referring to someone who is an engineer, who is an IT, perhaps, they are much easier as compared to somebody who is an accountant or somebody who is a marketing specialist. Yeah, these skill migration programs, there are many pathways. So to know somebody whether or not they skill migration is an option to them, we need to take into consideration, on their qualification. We need to take into consideration on all their work experience after the completed the tertiary education. Yeah, so we shall be looking into their complete resume, and let us assess them and see whether or not they can meet the requirements and which pathway are they going through. For example, if let's say they are a graduate of South Australia, that could be an advantage to them, because they might be able to get nomination through South Australia, being a graduate of South Australia. So there are many considerations that we need to take into account.
I see. Okay, we have a follow-up question about the after the provisional visa for 4 years, is there a chance that they will be turned down to go on to the permanent visa?
Well, the requirements for the PR conversion is very clear, and if you meet the requirements, then there isn't any reasons why you cannot convert into the PR successfully.
Okay, I would like to ask the last question, which is something a lot of parents would be more sensitive to. How would you comment on the discrimination factor in Australia and also in Sydney when compared to other places like UK, USA, and places like that? I get this question all the time, so I got to ask you guys.
Well, let me share with the Hong Kong community. In Australia, it is a country where majority of them, 70% of them, are migrants themselves. Yeah, and it is very welcoming. The policy itself, it's a country that welcomes migrants. And my personal experience when I was living in Sydney, I didn't feel any racism, and the policy are very transparent. In terms of the benefits and the entitlement, being a PR holder, you have pretty much the same access. You access to the same benefits as citizens, and we generally are not allowed to to comment or to being racist in the community. Yeah. And migrants most of the times adapt quickly to the new environment. Yeah, so it is a country with that welcomes the migrants.
I see. Ben, do you have any comment on that, or Desmond covered most of the essentials?
Yeah, no, that's good responses. I'd agree with those. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the audience asked, is the English requirement for skilled visa the same as all the other categories?
No, it is not the same. In general, skilled migration require a much higher English requirement. And being a principal applicant for skilled migrants, there isn't any waiver, to the English. You have to have the required English requirements. And if you were to go through the skilled migration, with the current requirements and having the high score to score a high point, most of the times you will need to score a band 8 equivalent in order to be competitive. As for the business and investment migration, there is also English requirements, but for those who doesn't speak English, that can be waived off through a VAC2. So VAC2 is a form of payment where you are entitled to a certain amount of the English lesson after the visa is granted when you're in Australia. You can pay a fee and get a waiver on the English.
Okay, I see. Okay, good. I guess we are a little bit overrun already, so I would like to finish the webinar at here. Anything the two of you want to add to give some tips to the audience or to wrap it up? Desmond?
Well, I guess migration is a decision that you need to think through carefully, and you need to decide carefully, do a little bit of research and talk to the qualified people and get yourself assessed and be certain that that is the destination that you want your children and your family to grow up and to take your family to. And importantly, always don't feel pressure. If you were to speak to anybody, don't feel pressure to immediately sign the contracts, and engage the services. Be certain that you're being advised carefully, all the requirements, the process, and until you are, well, then you make a decision, to proceed further.
Zen, do you have any more tips for the audience or any comments?
No tips as such, but just in terms of comments, I think a lot of people are asking about the impact of COVID on the Australian migration programs, and if we as New South Wales government have insights to that. At this stage, we don't, and I think it will be a matter of just seeing how the Commonwealth, which is the federal government of Australia, set their programs going forward in response to COVID. At this stage, we're still just operating as business as usual. Our program for this financial year, which comes to an end on the 30th of June, is full. We filled that a few months ago, so that just sort of shows the popularity of New South Wales as a migration destination. And hopefully, when we're waiting for advice from the Australian government, we'll be able to reopen for the new program year early July. Now, I think the thing to take away from that is that if you are ready to apply or you want to make an application, then I think it's always best to move as quickly as you can. If there is an opportunity, and you're thinking about it, I would always say take that opportunity, because we find or have found, whether it's in the skilled migration program or the business and investor migration program, people have all the intentions in the world to move forward, but they may be, waiting for something to happen, and they've got an opportunity, but they're just waiting for something, maybe, in their personal lives or whatever, and then they don't get around to it in time. And then quite often, that opportunity can be missed. So my advice is always, if the opportunity is there for you, and you want to pursue it, then pursue it, because you don't want to be in a position where you will have, regretted not making it an application when the opportunity was there for you, and it can potentially no longer be there for you later down the line. So that's it from me.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys, and happy weekend to all. We are going to finish at here. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Zane. Thank you, Belinda.